but a great surprise visit in from Public Works Director for the City of Shelton, Craig Gregory. Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So what do we got going on here? You're in to talk about some upcoming projects we got coming up?
Well, one that is getting going. Just drove by Alder Street, and it is closed off this morning, so just wanted to come in and let everybody know that we are getting started on the Downtown Connector project.
Nice.
Crews are out there doing some saw cutting this morning. And we have a public meeting tomorrow to roll out the final design and give folks some updates on kind of where you're going to see the start of the work and update to the elements that we decided on and also the budget that we are working with on this project.
We were talking, so the public meeting's tomorrow. What time?
6 o'clock down at the Civic Center.
The Civic Center, okay. And then last week we had Terry Schnitzer and Bob Jean and Deidre Peterson, the deputy mayor, in. And one of the topics was fiscal stability, financial stability, and things like that as we're starting to look back, peel the layers off a little bit more. Are any of the budgetary conversations that the city's having going to impact Public Works or any projects?
They could, for Public Works in general. The project's not necessarily been getting a lot of questions about the budget and should we be scaling back some of these projects or maybe not doing them at all. But one thing that we're going to discuss tomorrow night is where those funds come from.
Sure.
And the project down on Alder Street, Olympic Highway North, is 100% grant funded through TIB and also the supplemental transportation budget through the state. Some of the other projects like Turner Street, those are restricted funds coming out of Transportation Benefit District funds. So it can't be used for anything else besides transportation projects. So that is something that we will discuss in more detail tomorrow night and how we get those funds and how those are allocated to different projects.
And these are long-time projects. I mean, you've been talking about the connector project for a while now. It's not just like, oh, we're going to start the project today, and that means it'll impact the budget tomorrow. I mean, this has been built in, and you guys have had conversations about this.
This
for
has
a
been
while
more
now.
than a year.
Yeah.
Yes, it certainly from the time we actually went to the commission at that point to talk about, is there a project here to be had, and where do we go get funding for it, and started design. It's been more than 12 months ago that we started this conversation. And quite a while coming, but good these days. We don't let them sit on the shelf very long, so we have gotten to this project fairly quickly. When you talk about a large-scale project, a $4.5 million project, we have done a lot of work in 12 months, but it has been a long road to get here.
And the citizens of Shelton voted for this Transportation Benefit District 3 or 4 years ago now.
Correct.
And right away, we started to see some projects, but by now you have a fair amount of money ready to go in the coffers for some of these projects. And again, like you mentioned, you're not going to be able to use this money for something else, or if, I don't know.
We cannot go and pay for staff with
Right.
this money. It is strictly supposed to be for, projects, whether they be residential paving, large projects, and arterial or arterial streets. But these funds cannot go to pay for buying a public works truck or
Sure.
a cop car or
Sure.
something of that sort, or staff. These funds are strictly for transportation and projects only. And we have done a lot in the last since that was passed. We were committed to doing 20 residential blocks a year. We've actually been getting a few more than that, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 23 to 25 a year over the last few years. So we've been putting a pretty good dent in a chunk of those residential streets that are struggling out there too.
And if you weren't using that money, it would just sit in, for the layman, a savings account.
Correct. Yeah. It is restricted
might as well
funds.
use it.
Right.
And there you go.
Make the city look better.
And that was what it was meant to do, is to do projects, whether they be, like I said, residential streets or large-scale projects. And actually the commission voted about a year and a half ago setting where those funds would actually go.
Yeah.
And just off the top of my head, trying to rely on my memory here, but I think it was 65% to large-scale projects, arterials, 30% to residential streets, and 5% to sidewalks and multimodal projects. So they did set their priorities, and we have been trying to abide by those since we started getting those funds in.
And this connector project, you mentioned 100% grant funded. You had the other recent, the Basin 3 project, that was 100% grant funded.
Correct.
Too. So it's not like that's impacting. And are these the situations, too, where you get the grant money, you're awarded the money, and then if whatever happens, you decide to pull the plug or put a pause on it, you may lose those funds? Or
that is true. That is
so
correct.
You have to use them.
Yes. And those are, just like the Sewer Basin 3 project, that is a completely different set of funds also. That's not general fund money that we're talking about now. That's utility funds, which the utility is fairly healthy and doing well at this point. So we don't see any issues with that, even if we had some issues with sewer projects that we were needing in the future. Not necessarily saving up for large-scale projects. Those would still need to be, for the most part, grant funded. But at this point, as far as operations goes, those utilities are doing fairly well.
What about traffic backups, things like that for Forest Festival?
We have put a shutdown on both the projects that are going, also Cascade Natural Gas on Thursday before Forest Festival, so hopefully we can get everything cleaned up out there and get ready to go. And one thing that we are committed to that I wanted to mention also is on Friday afternoons we will be putting a look ahead for the next week out on all of our social media sites. Try and get a copy also to you guys also to get out. Is where the projects are going to be at, what closures are coming, over the next week, and just try to give the motoring public a little bit of advance notice on what's going to be happening out there, because it is going to be a busy summer.
I bet.
So,
wake up one day, start going to head out driveway, it's closed off or something like that. Wait a second, missed that memo.
We do not want that to happen.
We sure don't.
My phone starts ringing, and we don't want those phone calls.
Well, Craig, thank you for popping in and updating us on some of those things. And again, there's a public meeting tomorrow night at 6 at the Civic Center to talk about the projects and get a final update on the Downtown Connector project, which you'll start seeing work on right now.
Yes, thank you so much for having me this morning.
Good to see you.